Good morning.
Hello,
I'm Jen,
I'm Kimberly.
and this is that Vegan Morning Show.
Hello, good morning. As you can see, we have a guest with us today. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Anna. Good
Hello.
morning.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
for
joining us
having.
early.
Oh, yes. Yes.
We're so excited to have you here and have this chat. So, if you're tuning in live, Anna we're all happy to answer any questions you have. We're going to talk about yoga and veganism and a couple of other things. So, please feel free to put your questions in the chat or in the comment section, and we'll be sure to address those. And if you're watching the replay, feel free to comment. Jen and I will be in there checking and responding back to you. So hello. Let me tell you a little bit about Anna. Then we're going to talk about our weekends and then we'll get into the conversation. So, Anna Ferguson has been studying and teaching yoga, meditation, and mindfulness practices for over 20 years. She's the founder of the vegan centric nonprofit, Our Collective Heart, and co creator of World Peace Yoga, a school of yoga in Cincinnati, Ohio, offering online and in studio classes. By the way, I'm in one of Anna's online classes and it's amazing. Anna is the director of Our Collective Heart self-paced online courses. That's the one I'm doing. Yoga for the Common Good, relational activist training, and compassion for all yoga teacher training. On Anna's quest to inspire individuals to manifest the most authentic versions of themselves, she wrote the book World Peace Yoga, Yoga for People Who Breathe. That's all of us. Spoiler alert. In her book, readers learn tools for creating inner peace through a variety of practices, including breathwork, meditation, and posture techniques, as well as plant source living. Anna is passionate about building community, compassionate living, and her wonderful son, Noah. Welcome, Anna.
Welcome, Anna.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I love that. I will say I've never done a podcast this early in the morning, and there's something really special about it because it's kind of like when you take a trip with a group of people and maybe you stay in the same house and you kind of get to know people at a deeper level because you're seeing them first thing in the morning.
Mhm.
I kind of feel like that's what this is like a bit. It's like, okay, you're seeing me right when I am getting out of bed, and even before I've meditated or anything like that, I'm going to meditate after. So anyways, it's just it's really great to be here with you all and wake up this way. Wake up and be conscious.
Yeah. And on a Monday, not bad,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
So, how was everyone's weekend? Jen, tell me how your weekend was.
Well, there was a lot of snow involved.
Mhm.
But before that, on Friday night, my husband and I met up with some friends in Poughkeepsie, New York, and we went to a candlelight concert. And it was a string quartet playing 90s tunes surrounded by
Nice.
candles. It was amazing. It was a lot of fun. It certainly brought back memories. And it was pretty cool hearing songs by Nirvana and Metallica and just other bands being played on a string quartet. You can't beat that. So
Yeah.
it was truly a great experience. Saturday, we just kind of ate out a couple times and just prepared a little bit for the last minute preparation for the storm. And then Sunday, we just hibernated and watched everything get covered up in snow. How about you, Kimberly?
Yeah, a lot of the weekend was preparing for the snow, which came on Sunday and dumped so much here in my area of New Jersey. And so it was nice to have an excuse to like just stay inside. And I spent most of Saturday watching the news, and we can talk about this some other time. But so Saturday was rough. It was hard to pull ourselves away from the television, from scrolling our phones. But then on Sunday, we were like, every time we need to clean out our basement, and which is where JP's office is as well. And it's like a finished area, but we've been storing a bunch of stuff in there. And finally we were like, there's no excuse. we can't go anywhere. We have to start like organizing this room. So we spent a couple of hours doing that. So not like the most exciting weekend, but certainly got some things done. Anna, how'd you spend your weekend?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have to say I had the most amazing weekend and everything worked out so divinely. I'd had a teacher retreat planned for many months for all the World Peace Yoga teachers for us to get together and connect. And, you know, it's such a task just to bring people together, period. And then bring people together when like the news forecast is, or like the weather forecast is like, you know, don't leave your house and get prepared and all these things. But the snow wasn't really coming until Saturday evening. And pretty much everyone made it to the teacher retreat. And we had such a lovely time together, just chatting yoga and doing practice, sharing food, and I made it home like just as the snow was starting to fall, and then had a nice Sunday slowdown and a bit of exercise shoveling in front of the studio. We didn't have classes, but I still shoveled. Yes. So that was my weekend.
Nice.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah. So Jen and I are so excited to talk with you about this because as Jen mentioned before we went live, we've had quite a few conversations around the idea of like spiritual practices and kind of all of the different ways that they so many seem to miss a connection to who we're eating and who we are exploiting when we're engaged in either the spiritual practice itself or the rest of our life, where it seems like there's a disconnect. But something that's really meaningful that you do is you take the vegan piece and you take the yoga piece and you've put it together. And it, to me, makes so much sense. And, you know, all of the people I've met within the yoga sphere who are not vegan, I have had a hard time understanding how you read the sutras and you connect with all of the aspects of yoga and you don't go, oh, here's this big thing I'm doing in my life that's completely out of alignment with what I'm learning about yoga. Tell us how you got to that point and how you practice that on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a big topic. I'll say that just a bit about my background and how I came to yoga and how I came to the vegan lifestyle. It happened very close together. And I was introduced to vegetarianism through a roommate in college that was just experimenting, and she seemed healthier, happier. And even though I was questioning her choice, I couldn't help but notice that there was something lighter about her being, and I thought I might like to experiment with that. And so I just started taking away certain things from my diet. I wasn't vegan, but I just started eliminating certain animal products and started feeling better. And soon, within a few months of that journey of exploring vegetarianism, I was introduced to yoga and went to my first yoga class, and I remember leaving and feeling very calm and relaxed and at peace. And I went to the class thinking it's going to be some form of exercise, which it was. And it was if you're familiar with vinyasa yoga, it was that form of yoga. And it was very challenging and physical. And at the end, we laid down and I left feeling this deep calm and peace. And that's what really got me on the journey of yoga, and why I feel like I continued with it for so long. And as I started practicing more, no one was really talking about vegan lifestyle or even philosophy, but I just was finding through experimenting with vegetarianism and practicing the poses and the relaxation that I was feeling so good that certain things didn't appeal to me. I didn't necessarily want to turn on the TV after practicing yoga. I didn't want to eat a heavy meal after practicing. I felt really good. I felt good in my body, and I didn't want that feeling to go away. So other things that might make that feeling go away, I didn't want to do. And so it was this kind of slow transitional thing that happened without really saying, okay, I'm going to be vegan, but these things kind of slowly fell away through my yoga practice. And then I met a teacher, Doug Swenson, who was the first teacher that really talked about Ahimsa, yoga, plant-based living, veganism, and made that connection. And it just was like this moment where I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. And it was at that point that it became like a very dedicated, conscious decision that I'm not participating in this because I do not want to harm myself. I do not want to harm the environment. I do not want to harm other beings. And so it became much bigger than me feeling good, but it started with that. And I do think that people come to spiritual practice, whether that's through yoga, through meditation, through going to church or other religious practices. I feel like people come because consciously or unconsciously, they want to feel loved and they want to feel accepted. And I think the beauty of the teachings of yoga is that yoga saying, I love and accept you for who you are right now. And you don't have to do anything but just be who you are, be your authentic self. And I think that's what really keeps me inspired and keeps me going. But a big part of being your authentic self is maybe it's not the same as how the culture is as a whole. And I think that can be very challenging for people to be, because you can't be authentic and also fit into a mold and fit into the expectations of others. And so I think that's where it's hard for a lot of people, is they kind of equate being loved and accepted with fitting in. And so on a quest to fit in, it's like they might be part of a spiritual group where that core spiritual teaching is to not harm all beings, and they really resonate with that teaching, but everyone there's a potluck and everyone's eating foods that are totally misaligned with the teaching, but it's so normalized and everyone just wants to fit in, and everyone's looking for that sense of belonging, but they're not going to find it if they're not being their authentic self. So I think it's a really hard position to be in as a human, want to fit in, but also want to live your values. And I think once we let go of trying to fit in, to look a certain way, to be a certain way, and we just be ourselves, and we connect with our own true values, and we just feel good about being how we are ourselves, that that things start to fall into place, and you feel more solid in your vegan practice, your yoga practice, all of it.
I love everything you just said, Anna. Thank you for sharing your journey with veganism and yoga. I'm a recovering people pleaser. My other platform is The Confident Vegan because I'm the only vegan in my family. And it took me 2 years to fully commit to being vegan because I was afraid of how other people would judge me. Right. And everything that you just said just resonated for me. And it took time for me to really fully connect to my values and be like, you know what, I need to just do what's right for me. If people really love and care about me, they're going to support that. And I had to cultivate inner safety with being different from the people around me. What are some tips that you could share that could help someone cultivate that inner safety as they're navigating that challenge of, oh my God, I'm different from the people around me?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Well, first of all, let me say, lifelong people pleaser here. Oh my goodness. Yeah, like, I mean, it's still part of my meditation practice. Like, it's still, one day I might feel so good, like I've got it. And then the next day, I don't got it. Like, here I am, people pleasing again. Like, and but the good thing about that for me is that I recognize it so quickly now when I do it, and I can start to turn it around, where before it was such an unconscious thing that I did for acceptance and approval, and now I'm conscious of it. It doesn't mean that I don't do it. I still do, but I'm conscious of it, and I can bring myself back more quickly. So I think that is probably one of the tips, is to not, when you know your stuff, don't beat yourself up about your stuff, and be able to acknowledge it and know that that is like such a victory, just to be able to acknowledge, this is something that I do, and I'm overcoming this, I'm letting go of this. And it's not easy to let certain things go, but meditation is my number one. It's my number one go-to. You can practice meditation standing, walking, seated, lying down, however you'd like to start a meditation practice. I think it is so important to slow down, to be still. And part of being still is really noticing your thoughts, and noticing what's coming up, and noticing those unresolved things in you that you have the opportunity to let go of, so you can live from a more authentic place. And it's like, what is this being stirred up inside of me? And we keep ourselves so busy, and we deal with the trauma of life, the stress of life, the anxiety of life. But we don't deal with it. We keep ourselves busy as a way to deal with it, but that's not dealing with it. And so when you take the opportunity to slow down and pause, you can allow those things to come to the surface. And it's only when those things come to the surface that you have the opportunity to let them go. And so I think taking time every day, even if it's 5 minutes or less, to just say, I'm going to sit here and be still, or I'm going to stand here and be still and do nothing but breathe. And I think that's just a powerful thing, a way to start and end your day. So that, to me, meditation's my number one go-to. But I also think having community, having support, having people that really do love and accept you for who you are, that you can talk to and you don't feel judged. And, those having just one person in your life like that is really, really special, because it's not easy to, find those people that are going to love and accept you. And of course, like, you want to believe that your family loves and accepts you, and on some level they do, but on some level they don't. And and I think it's a practice that we're all practicing to do, to love and accept others in an unconditional way. It's so hard for any of us to do. And so I think taking time to pause, I think, and giving yourself space to be who you are, and not apologize for that.
Yeah.
I love
I
that.
love that. And that's so I mentioned, as I was with my little quip story reading your bio, that I have enrolled in one of your yoga teacher training online courses. And what made me choose yours, after spending years looking at various yoga teacher trainings, considering it, almost signing up and then not, is that you offer that level of acceptance, especially here in, kind of the Western take on yoga. There are so many teachers and studios that kind of approach it from, this is exercise first and foremost. And if you're not showing up looking a certain way, being a certain size, or wearing certain, workout clothes, you're not a part of this. And you'll always be on the outside. And it's like completely outside of what actually are the yoga teachings. And it's like they haven't read where it's come from. They've turned it into this like workout plan. But with you, it truly is yoga for people who breathe, because there is a sensitivity and an acknowledgement that our bodies are not all the same, that we don't show up from the same, being able to afford the same type of workout clothes, or being shaped the same way, or able-bodied to do all of these poses that, you see on the cover of the yoga journal. And so I just want to, one, highlight that there is a yoga program out there for people who feel like they're not accepted in the general yoga world, and that it's here with you. What can you tell us more about that? What brought you to feel so inclusive and make sure that your yoga is coming from that space?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like, all you really have to do is go to Google, type in yoga, and what will pop up are images of thin, flexible, young, white, usually women, doing poses that most people can't even imagine their body doing. Handstand, headstand, leg behind the head, So most people, if they go online and Google yoga, they are going to immediately not feel accepted. Like, I mean, and it's really sad that, and that's our, like, reiterating what you said, that is what we think of when we think of yoga, is the poses. And that you have to look or dress or be a certain way to practice. And it's just not, that is not the whole picture of yoga, obviously. And I think that's what a lot of people are working on shifting and changing in the world. But it's not easy when, you go to Google and it's just telling you this is what yoga is, right? So I'm inspired by the lifestyle of yoga. And I'm, inspired to, when someone says, oh, I can't do yoga, I'm not flexible, as an example, like actually, you can do it, and there's different ways, and you can't be too young or too old, or fat or thin, or this is a practice that there is a way for everyone to come to it, and maybe it's just sitting in a chair and breathing. Maybe it's not doing the poses at all, and it's choosing to eat consciously and plant-based for a day and experiment with how that feels. So there's so many ways to practice yoga that is beyond the poses. But the one thing that I will say about the poses that I think is so cool is that you can think of the poses as a way of putting yourself in someone else's shoes. And if you are familiar with yoga, there's the pose names all relate to different aspects of nature or animals or elements. So you become a cat, a cow, a dog, a tree. And in essence, you're communing with these forms, you're becoming these forms, you're shape-shifting. And it is a way to develop greater empathy and compassion by putting yourself in someone else's shoes. And on another level, it's also a way to challenge yourself, because it's never easy to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, right? Like it can be quite demanding to see something from someone else's perspective, but when we do, we soften a bit, and we aren't so hardened, and our heart opens. And I think that is a really beautiful thing that yoga is working to do. But the other thing is that the challenge of the poses is preparing us for the challenge of stress in life. And so anything we do on the mat is going to be way easier than a conversation at work, or a confrontation with a family member, or whatever it may be. Being on the mat and doing the poses, that's the easy part. So what's happening when you're in these forms? Are you holding your breath and gritting your teeth and fighting your way through it just to get to then the next pose? Or are you breathing and staying calm, staying at peace, even in the midst of that challenge? And so that's really the practice, is that if we can learn how to be calm and be at peace in our body as we're shifting into these different forms, then we're going to take that off the mat. And so then it's not as difficult when we're in a situation where maybe we go to a family gathering and we're the only vegan. We can feel it more at peace with that and be in that challenge and be okay with not fitting in, because we've been practicing breathing through the stress of the different forms, and we've been practicing empathy, we've been practicing compassion. And so we can see from the other's point of view, but we can also accept and love ourselves enough to be authentic. So I think that is the beautiful part of the poses, that even though it seems like, oh, just the physical practice, there is so much behind that physical practice that can be taken off the mat and into our lives.
Yeah.
I love that. I feel like the whole world needs yoga right now.
Oh, yeah.
All of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'll also share that just part of my journey with developing a yoga teacher training course, and I want it to be accessible. I want it to be accessible from the pose point of view, that you don't have to, because sometimes people will inquire about teacher training, like, are there requirements? Like, do we have to do this? Do we have to be able to hold headstand for a minute, as an example? I'm like, no. you are coming as you are. The only thing that's required is a sincere interest in your personal growth and practicing yoga from a holistic point of view. And so that is inspiring to me, to make the poses accessible and to make the practice accessible for people that are going to enter into it through a posture, asana point of view, and integrating relaxation and meditation into that. But also the plant-based piece is very important to me. And I believe life is your teacher, and there's something to learn from everyone. But in my yoga journey, it became very important to me that I really wanted to take classes and study with teachers that were practicing the lifestyle that resonated with my authentic self. So it was looking for, I was searching for those vegan yogis that are out there that are teaching the sutras, that are doing the practice, and that the plant-based lifestyle is part of that. And so that I also want to make that accessible too, and make that like approachable, and for people to know that, yeah, this is part of yoga as a whole. And there's an easy way to be plant-based, and it doesn't have to be a lot of money, and it doesn't have to take a lot of time. And there's a way to, live in alignment with the values of yoga, with the values of yourself. And, when it comes down to it, I really do believe that most people do not want to harm animals, like in their heart of hearts. And it's just really hard to live those values in a culture where our hearts are hardened every day by a variety of things. But with the training course, yeah, making all these things accessible, and also teaching yoga as a holistic practice, that it's not just this one-sided focus on the poses, but we're bringing in the picture of yoga as a whole. And of course, in any given yoga teacher training, you can't bring in the entire whole of yoga, but I do my best to bring in, to give people a glimpse, a start of what yoga is as a whole, to begin their journey and go deeper.
Can people learn about that holistic approach to yoga in your book, World Peace Yoga?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So in my book, I highlight the posture practice, and their sequencing, and things that people can do on their own at home, but also the philosophy, the lifestyle, meditation, breathing techniques, and and of course the plant-based lifestyle, how it's connected. And we haven't talked about yet Ahimsa, but Ahimsa is a Sanskrit word that means non-violence or non-harming. And that's where I think, for the most part, when the topic of vegan is brought up, where people go in terms of the teachings of yoga is Ahimsa, because it's kind of like a no-brainer. Like, of course, not doing harm to any being. And if you're eating another being, obviously there's harm involved. So that is a core principle, core teaching of yoga, and that is in my book. But also, there's other parts of yoga that encourage living in this way beyond the core tenet of Ahimsa. And just the example I gave of the asanas and the poses, that putting yourself in someone else's shoes, you know, that's also indirectly or really directly connected to living a plant-based lifestyle and doing no harm. So yeah, everyone can read about that in my book, World Peace Yoga, Yoga for People Who Breathe. So yeah, it is intended to be a practice for everybody.
I love all of that, and I checked out your website, to prepare for our interview today, but I certainly want to check it out more because it sounds like I love what you said about how it's a holistic practice. It's not all of what Google shows us, right? Because that yoga, I've also been intimidated by yoga, and I've been to yoga classes that have been lovely, but have also kind of felt like I didn't fully fit in either. So it sounds like a really wonderful, welcoming community, and I like how you're explaining how there's more to yoga than just those poses, right? It's a practice, and it sounds like it's just really foundational in our well-being and cultivating that emotional well-being. And it sounds like it's actually a very flexible practice where it's, there's all these tools and ways to do it, and then you find a way that works for you and how it can support you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of just adapting the practice, making it accessible, using props, and then also like maybe the posture practice isn't for you. Maybe it is more of a seated meditation practice, and being, it's interesting because a lot of times, especially in the vegan community, when talking about yoga, people say, "Oh, I could never practice yoga," and I will often say, "You're already practicing yoga because you're a vegan and you're choosing to consciously not harm animals. That's yoga. Like that is yoga right there." So for all the vegans out there that think, I don't have a yoga practice, you're already practicing yoga because you're practicing Ahimsa, you're practicing non-harming. And of course, we can always do better as vegans because it's not just non-harming animals, it's non-harming all of life. And so we do our best to speak compassionately, to be loving, and to accept others. And I think accepting others doesn't mean we accept their behavior, but we can accept and love them and find ways to communicate and be together, and find where we have commonalities. And I'll also, I'll share that the Yoga for the Common Good training that I'm offering kind of stemmed out of this. It's a relational activist training. So it's for anybody and everyone, and it's really rooted in yoga philosophy and how to, and it's based on 6 conversations for connection, and like how can we find a way to be together and be connected through our differences. So for those of you that are maybe looking for a way to connect on a deeper level and have these more meaningful conversations, the Yoga for the Common Good course is a great one. I think it's a great one for vegans and non-vegans alike. And it's a great way to be together, to learn how to be together with others, ask meaningful questions, have meaningful conversations, and really practice loving and accepting. So that course is something that I offer fully online, as well as the Compassion for All yoga teacher training, which Kimberly is doing right now. And so I wanted to create opportunities for people that are not part of our community here at World Peace Yoga, that want to be, and they don't live in Cincinnati, Ohio, and maybe they're in another part of the country or another part of the world, and they're resonating with, yeah, I would like to practice with a teacher or a group of people that practice a vegan lifestyle, or practice yoga from a holistic point of view. So we have these courses that are self-paced that make it accessible for people to be able to do that. And also we do stream all of our yoga classes, not all of them, but most of them live online. So it's also possible for people to connect on a daily basis. You know, the time, based on the time zone, it might not be super convenient, but we do have morning and evening classes, Eastern time zone, where people can connect with us through live, mostly posture-based classes. We've got meditation as well. Actually, meditation and relaxation is like just kind of integrated into all of our classes. But yeah, so we've got ways for people to connect and plug in and you know, take practice yoga that's in line with their values and with yoga as a holistic practice.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Yeah. I want to make sure we mention one more thing. Your nonprofit, Our Collective Heart. What is that? Tell everybody what that is.
Yeah, so Our Collective Heart is a nonprofit that I founded, and it's a way to bring yoga and yoga, meditation, relaxation, veganism, you know, all of this is kind of yoga as a holistic practice to the world, to people. We have a annual Veg Fest that we offer here in Cincinnati, and we run that through the nonprofit Our Collective Heart. So we do local events, community yoga, making the practice of yoga accessible through scholarships to be able to whether it's practice in the physical space or do our online training. So the nonprofit and contributing to the nonprofit assists us with just making the practice of yoga and veganism more accessible through our annual Veg Fest, as well as through our online courses.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You know, it's great to be in community. I love the annual Veg Fest and how many people come to yoga through the Veg Fest. And how many people come to veganism through the Veg Fest. It works both ways. It's really wonderful, and it's also great to be able to have offerings beyond the Cincinnati community so people can feel plugged into something that resonates with them.
Yeah.
That's great. Kimberly, I think we need to take a field trip to Cincinnati.
I think so too.
Oh, I would love that. Absolutely. June 13th. I think June 13th is our Veg Fest. So that's always good to come.
This has been awesome. Jen, do you have any more questions for Anna?
Not at the moment, but I feel like, Anna, I could talk to you all day, and I can't believe we've gone over 30 minutes already. It went by way too fast.
It did.
Well, thank you. Thank you for, you know, waking up and every Monday morning and putting this on. I think it's a great way for people to be inspired and wake up in a conscious way. And it's beautiful work that you're doing. So it's really an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, I guess we should wrap up then. And all right. Well, this was wonderful. Anna, thank you again. Kimberly, also always lovely chatting with you every Monday. And we'll see you all next week.
Yeah.
Bye for now.
Bye.